Yeah, exactly. If you you invest, you want payback, you want a return on investment.
Well, I never had that experience
Yep.
when I was in the House because I think I had the least spending when I ran as party list congressman. No? So I did not have to return
Yep.
the favors granted to me. No? But I could imagine that lots of businessmen are, in fact, heavily investing on the candidates because they would want paybacks later on.
And what are those types of paybacks? I've asked this of
Oh my
other
gosh.
candidates.
I was in Congress. Number one,
Yep.
Committee on Ways and Means, taxes. No? That's very sensitive for businesses. No? Number two, franchises. No?
You're saying that while you were in Congress, you saw this firsthand.
Yeah, I saw this firsthand. The lobbying, no, as far as Ways and Means and franchises are concerned.
Sweetheart
Mighty,
deals.
Mighty lobbied heavily in the House before the president ran after Mighty. And that's why, love him or hate him, you know, he's got political will. But Mighty had Congress before the president actually turned on Mighty.
Define lobbying.
Money was being given to them to support
Bribes.
revenue. Yes.
Bribes.
And in Congress, it was so natural.
And
And
no-
that's why when you have indictments, for example, the Napoleon's indictment, the indictment is en masse because it's barkadahan eh. You know, pag tumanggap isa, dapat lahat tatanggap. No?
This is one thing that the public cannot grasp. I cannot grasp it. I can picture what you're saying, no? And then I can picture, in fact, we've seen politicians saying, "Ay, nako, you should see what we see in Congress." Diba? You've seen it. You said you've seen it. You're stating it as a matter of fact.
Yes.
Doesn't anybody have a legal, moral obligation to call, not just narrate this, but to call these people out, file cases, name names?
I thought about it, but I would have to accept so I can be a whistleblower. And I was thinking, if I accept and become a whistleblower, that makes me a tainted source. So I just opted, well, you know, you're not being forced, you don't have to. But you know it's being given there because people are saying, pumunta ka na kay ganito, no? Meron ng binibigay. Para saan? You know, para dito, no? So that's how it works in the House at least, no? And of course, the culture is if you squeal, everyone will pound on you, no? So the most that you can do is not to accept and keep quiet. Now, even if I wanted to speak, the problem is I did not receive. So my information is also hearsay. But between friends, you know,
But
of
keeping
course they
quiet-
would tell you, pumunta ka na dito, kunin mo na, meron 200
So
dyan.
what?
Oh.
Yeah, but keeping
200
quiet.
million?
Hindi, 200,000. Ang cheap nga eh.
But-
Kaya nga hindi ako tumatanggap eh. Sabi ko, excuse me, kung maging kurakit ako, hindi ako papayag sa
Dati nakalagay
200,000.
sa
No?
brown soup po. Nakalagay dati sa brown soup po.
But isn't that abetting it? I mean, I'm just being frank here. Isn't that abetting it? I mean, I personally, I appreciate this ability to talk, to ask you directly. But isn't that abetting it when all of you see what's going on, and at the same time, all of you are saying, well, hindi naman ako tumanggap eh. So, I don't even need to say that this congressman is corrupt, this congressman is corrupt.
That's my
I know for a
position.
fact.
I did not receive, so I do not have personal knowledge. I could have had personal knowledge, but that would have meant accepting it, which was against really everything I stand
So
for.
you turned a blind eye.
I mean, I didn't turn a blind eye. I just didn't go because I wasn't interested in getting a bribe.
No, yeah. What I heard is you said, hindi ko tinanggap, so therefore wala akong
Hindi ko
wala akong
kinuha
personal
kasi
knowledge.
ang salitaan dyan, pumunta ka na doon sa Congressman X, namimigay na. Oh, eh, the decision on whether or not to go there is yours. I just never bothered to go.
What surprises me is the number, 200,000?
Ang cheap nga.
No, really.
Hindi ako nagbabalinis.
Dati
Pero
250,000,
siguro kung 200
ano ka ba
million nun,
naman?
baka mag-isip pa ako.
Kung 200 million yun, di na natin
Oo,
pag-uusapan.
baka 200 million yun, baka
Nothing
nagtumanggap pa.
Okay.
Nakalink pa sa GDP yung mga rates na yan?
But you're talking kasi of what? At least 250 siguro will accept, no? So how much is that?
Attorney, we were discussing something really interesting.
Yes.
But I know that lobbying is normal in the U.S. and actually it's regulated.
It's regulated.
We went there and we had a seminar
Yes.
on how lobbying is conducted and what were the rules, the laws governing lobbyists.
Yes.
You think this kind of legislation is possible in the Philippines? Since you're talking about it as if it's just the state of affairs in the House, you think it's reasonable
I've
to
thought of
expect
that, no?
our congressmen
I've thought of that.
to
On the
approve
one
something
hand,
like that?
if you legalize it and you regulate it, then you could at least enforce some kind of code of ethics or code of conduct
Or at least
amongst
limits.
lobbyists.
Limits or something.
Make it to a professional undertaking. But at the same time, you're not sure whether or not these people will be bound by any standard anyway. And my gut feel is that the lobbyists amongst us now would not want it regulated because they're happy with how the system works. There's no trace.
But
on who's
it's precisely
lobbying for
that's
what,
why
no?
Yeah, but
that's
that's
why a
precisely
law can
why-
help.
Yeah, but see, my feeling
Diba?
is we're legitimizing something that should not be the case in the first place.
But you're
no?
saying it's going on anyway. So
It's going on
No,
anyway,
it is
but
going
it doesn't
on.
mean you
Regulating.
legitimize
yes,
it.
exactly.
no?
I think
Regulating what's going on
the
already.
operative
Yeah.
word is not to legitimize, but to regulate.
Parang huweteng ba?
Well, I don't know about that because, lobbying really in the U.S. Entails giving trips, except that you limit the trips.
Yeah, and even their
And it
lunches
happens
are
all the time in the
limited, diba?
Philippines. I guess, I'm not committed to the idea because I'm very uncomfortable with whether or not lobbying per se will be consistent with our anti-graft laws.
Okay.
Many of the things that we have in our anti-graft laws would probably be legal in the United
But
States.
letting the status quo prevail is consistent with anti-graft laws?
Well, that's why people have to choose their candidates better. That's how the
But
democracy
you
works.
can amend the anti-graft law if we're going to push for a lobbying law. Pwede
You would
siguro
have equal
ganon.
protection concerns there because people in similar situations should be treated in the same way, no? And we're coming up with legislation that would apply only to legislative lobbying, no? So to me, there might be constitutional objections there.
So wag na lang?
Saka wag na lang. And then,
Hindi, because,
so it
I mean,
stays as it is.
Yeah, so because you offer yourself. I mean, and a number of people
wag na
saying
lang
that
because I wasn't affected by the system anyway, no? And I think there are other people who are like me, will say no to that kind of a system. Although I have to say that a lot of my former colleagues,
yeah, but it's not about
Yeah.
but it's not about you who are in Congress. It's about the taxpayers who are affected. It's not about whether or not you accepted a bribe. It's about what's happening to my taxpayer money. You said, look, they bumoto na lang kayo ng maigi.
oh, it's a political question.
Iboto nyo na lang hindi corrupt.
Oo.
Then what are laws for? Don't we have laws precisely because the system can work against our interests, precisely because we have no guarantee that everybody that we vote in will be clean and will be honest.
Well, I guess
we
where
have laws precisely because we cannot leave it to human
My
nature.
personal conviction is to regulate it would be to legitimize something that I consider is wrong, and I will not support it. I could be wrong, but that's my position.
Yes, sir. But please try to paint a clearer picture of the membership of Congress. So you're looking at how many % who are involved in some sort of dealings like this.
I wouldn't know
Ano,
precisely,
ballpark
no?
figure.
But it's a culture.
Percentage.
So let's talk about the Napoles scam. Napoles scam, the
Yeah.
feeling is almost everyone was involved.
Yes.
Kasi alam mo yung, wala na kami doon, fortunately, no? Magagandang ahente kasi yan. Tapos they would like stay in the gallery, they would talk individually to the members of Congress, and of course, they know the barkadas. Pag tumanggap yung isa, tatanggap ang lahat. And the feeling of the opposition is, in fact, everyone was guilty. Why were we being singled out? No? So, ganon. Now, if we are to believe the list in the possession of certain quarters, no, as far as Napoles is concerned, the number of members of Congress run into the hundreds. So, at least half. Ganyan.
How
At
about-
least on the Napoles incident. No?
Would the law against racketeering help? At least I think it was proposed some years ago. Of course, hindi rin natuloy.
Well,
Pero-
as I said, what Napoles did is precisely illegal. That's
Yeah.
why 2 senators spent time behind bars and people are being convicted for it. No? I guess the solution is to have better implementation of criminal laws and make sure that those who breach our anti-graft laws are jailed.